of your own party that believe you needed congressional authorization for last night's strike?
I'm sorry?
What do you say to members of your own party who are saying you needed congressional authorization for last night's strike?
They're wrong, and I sent up this morning when the strikes occurred exactly what happened.
Sir, how was your conversation with Speaker Johnson? Are you concerned? How was your conversation with Speaker Johnson?
I was pleased with my conversation with Speaker Johnson, and apparently today he said he's sticking by the deal.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. So it's actually been a couple of days since a Democrat turned on Joe Biden. I was really starting to worry, but we're back on track. The universe is realigned, and they just keep dropping. Apparently, Build Back Better is not good for the Democrat Party, which that might be the only part of it I can really get behind. So the most recent Democrat leader to turn on the president, maybe the best one yet. She's at least one of the better known ones. And she came out absolutely swinging, man. And it really puts me in a kind of an uncomfortable position, kind of a tough spot of almost defending Joe Biden. But I have to say before I show this that I believe that Joe Biden allowing our military to protect themselves and our allies from the Houthi rebels, I think is the right move. Now, obviously, it's freaking terrifying that it's Joe Biden and his administration that are doing this because they honestly haven't gotten anything right and everything hangs in the balance. Anything can happen. But you got to let your people protect themselves. Now, Congress believes he doesn't have the authority, and maybe they're right. I don't know. Wouldn't be the first time that they were right about that or that he overstepped his authority. But I don't think that he needs approval for a defensive strike. Now, if this were something that would grow into a conflict, he would need approval for that. So I guess the question that Congress asks, if he doesn't need approval for a strike that causes a conflict, what's the point of approval in the first place? And I totally get that. Because Congress knows something that I don't think we're going to see on any mainstream media outlets. I think Joe Biden and I think Lloyd Austin are probably going to get us dragged into a war with Iran. It's a war that I'm surprised didn't happen many, many years ago. We've been screwing with them for a long time, and they've been screwing with us for even longer. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happens now. Now, the interesting thing is, we're still begging them for a fake diplomatic, pretend nuclear deal. We're still unfreezing terrorist funds, but now we're probably doing our best to get drug into a war. But anyway, the progressives are absolutely losing their mind on Joe. Have a look at this.
That you're objecting to, is it the object of the strikes themselves, or is it that the president engaged in them without congressional approval, or both?
It is the latter. It is that the president engaged in these strikes without seeking congressional approval. And this is a long debated issue, of course, because Article 1 of the Constitution gives the power to declare war to Congress. Article 2 gives the power to the president to direct military forces as commander in chief. And so just backing up, in 1973, amidst the disastrous war in Vietnam, and the ways in which the United States was pulled into that conflict little by little, Congress decided to reassert our congressional authority by passing the War Powers Resolution of 1973. And in the War Powers Resolution, it specifically articulated the instances where the president can initiate use of force and military actions that commit United States forces. And there were three instances. One was a declaration of war. Two is statutory authority is given. And three is instances where the United States faces an emergency attack on the United States or on its possessions or territories. Now, the intent here was to say that the president must be in consultation whenever possible with Congress. And in fact, Section 3 of the War Powers Resolution says that. It specifically says, in every circumstance where possible, the president must consult with Congress so that we have both Congress and the president weighing what the course forward should be. In this situation, Allie, what the president did is consult with a huge number of allies. It took weeks. And in fact, the White House was telegraphing that there was going to be some retaliation. So there was certainly time and space to come to Congress and consult with Congress and ask for our authority, particularly given that the reason that the Houthis, and, this is a violent extremist group. We obviously have to deal with the Houthis, but particularly because the Houthis were saying that the reason that they're doing this is because of the war in Gaza. And so I think that the implications of all of this are that the United States could be pushed into a significant set of hostilities and a committing of our resources, and that is something that Congress should consider. I don't think we can anymore say that we are in danger of the Gaza war spreading. It is already happening, and it is happening right here before our eyes.
So I spoke to your colleague Gregory Meeks yesterday, and he was saying that the president did inform Congress. There's a distinction here in what you're talking about informing Congress versus consulting with Congress. Some might say you're splitting hairs. Others might say we got ourselves into a war for a very long time in Iraq. And by the way, Vietnam, which was never a war. It was always some kind of action. So the War Powers Act was meant to constrain the president, not give them extra freedoms.
That's right. And there is a big distinction. It isn't splitting hairs. It is a big distinction between informing and consulting with and seeking authority from Congress. And so in this case, that third instance that I mentioned of when there's an emergency attack, in that situation, the president must inform within 48 hours, must inform Congress. And so I think that this situation is one where clearly there was the time and space, and the intent of Congress in the War Powers Resolution was to say that in every circumstance, Democratic president, Republican president, whatever the circumstance is, we need to ensure that Congress is consulted. And again, I would just say that particularly given the circumstances here, given that this is in the Middle East, given that Israel's war on Gaza is continuing and it has significant consequences for us to be drawn in, as the Houthis want us to be drawn in, I would argue. I think that this is absolutely a circumstance where the president is required to consult with Congress, and I think needs to come to us now and ask for authorities for anything further that they intend to do.
I'm an economics guy, so I'm very interested.
Yeah, so you guys see that. I mean, she raises some pretty fantastic points, but here's the thing. She and her party created this, man. They gave us this president. They ran cover for this president in every possible way. They played apologist. Every time he screwed something up, they played apologist for his family. I mean, they have allowed him and our military to be involved in Ukraine in ways that are completely contrary to NATO agreements, actual boots on the ground, things like that. They've allowed every bit of this. So to get angry and upset now that he's dropping bombs on terrorists that actually share her values, that's just a little too little and a little too late and completely and totally disingenuous. If she had been doing her actual duty to the Constitution for, I don't know, years, but the last 6 months would be okay, then we'd be having an entirely different conversation. The world would not be even needing to have this particular conversation at all. That's my belief. But anyway, that's just my take, guys. Let me know yours in the comments. If you haven't already, guys, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. We'll see you in the next one.